Okay, so like, is it just me or does anyone else feel like the second you tell people you're expecting, bam, you're hit with this tidal wave of pregnancy books and advice?
Oh, absolutely. It's like, congratulations on creating life. Now here's a million things to worry about.
Right. And on top of all the other changes, you're trying to figure out how to move your body in a way that feels good. So today we are doing a deep dive into prenatal yoga, but we're taking it a step further. We're exploring how your practice can and should evolve throughout each trimester.
I love that. And you know what's really interesting? We're going beyond just the physical poses. We're diving into what's called feminine yoga, which is all about really tuning into your body's wisdom throughout pregnancy.
Feminine yoga. Okay, you're going to have to teach me about this.
Yeah.
So it's less about nailing those picture-perfect poses and more about what listening to your body.
Exactly. It's about honoring your intuition and moving with your body's natural rhythms. This is especially important during the first trimester when so much is happening internally, even if you're not showing yet.
Oh, for sure. So instead of trying to stick to your old routine, it's more about supporting all those changes going on inside.
Yeah. One of our sources, Moving with the Womb, uses this phrase, moving with your womb, a really gentle approach for this time.
I love that, moving with your womb. So what does that actually look like in practice?
It's about paying attention to your body's subtle cues and responding to them, not pushing yourself to maintain that pre-pregnancy workout routine. In these early weeks, it's about cultivating awareness and finding grounding, stable poses.
Which is a good reminder that even if you were a yoga pro before pregnancy, things change. It's a whole new experience.
Yeah. One pose our sources mention for the first trimester is Baddha Konasana, or bound angle pose.
Wait, isn't that like a pose for menstrual health?
Yes, you're right. But that's what's so interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
Even in early pregnancy, when your body's preparing for this journey, you're still very much in tune with your natural cycles. What's good for your cycle can actually lay the groundwork for a healthy pregnancy.
So things that supported you before can take on a whole new meaning now.
Absolutely. And speaking of new meanings, as you head into the second trimester, things definitely start to feel more, well, pregnant.
The bump makes its grand debut.
Exactly. So this trimester in your practice is all about creating space physically and mentally for the baby.
So like literally making room for the baby to grow, but also creating the mental and emotional space for all the changes.
You got it. Now, about specific poses, we saw some different opinions in the materials. Some sources were all about balancing asanas, while others advised being cautious during the second trimester.
You know what they say, ask 10 experts, get 11 opinions. How do you know what's right for you?
That's where tuning into your body is key. If balancing poses feel good, go for it. But if you're feeling less stable, it's totally fine to modify or skip them.
It's really all about what feels right for you. So what are some things that are generally considered no-nos in the second trimester?
Inversions, deep back bends, and anything that puts a lot of pressure on your belly.
Yeah, I can imagine those wouldn't feel so great.
And there are physiological reasons to avoid those too. Inversions can actually restrict blood flow, and deep back bends can strain your abdominal muscles, which are already working overtime.
It's so important to understand the why behind the recommendations.
Absolutely. A good prenatal yoga instructor can be super helpful if you have any questions at all. Now, a pose that can be really beneficial during the second trimester is Warrior Two, or Virabhadrasana.
Oh, I love Warrior too. It makes you feel so strong and grounded.
I bet you rock that pose. Plus, it's a great hip opener, and lots of sources highlight how good hip opening poses are during pregnancy, both physically and emotionally.
See, I love how this approach connects the physical practice with emotional and mental well-being too. It's so holistic.
Exactly. And that's something we'll definitely talk more about as we move into the third trimester.
The third trimester is a whole other world, isn't it? Like you're in the home stretch of a marathon, but your body's like, nope, not so fast.
Seriously, I think one source even said that in those last few months, even simple things can feel impossible. Your yoga practice really needs to adapt during this time too.
Oh yeah, it's all about modifications now and really listening to your body.
Definitely. The third trimester is all about those restorative poses and giving yourself permission to rest. I love how Moving with the Womb talks about ahimsa, which means non-harming. It's a good reminder to really honor your body's need for rest during pregnancy, especially now. Sometimes pushing yourself too hard can do more harm than good.
It's less about intensity and more about nourishing your physical and mental well-being, especially as you get ready for birth.
Exactly. One pose that is recommended for this stage is the double arm raise. It's a nice, gentle chest opener, and it doesn't require a lot of flexibility or anything.
Perfect for those days when even putting on your shoes feels like a major workout. What makes that pose so beneficial for the third trimester?
Well, it's great for circulation, helps you breathe a little deeper, and even stimulates the mammary glands, which is pretty cool.
Wow, so it's not just about comfort, it's actually prepping your body for breastfeeding.
Right. And it made me think about another thing some sources recommended: doing poses that actually counteract all the physical demands of breastfeeding.
Oh, interesting.
Because you're going to be spending a lot of time hunched over, feeding the baby. So, poses that open up your chest and shoulders can really help prevent aches and pains.
I love that. So you're not just prepping for labor and delivery, you're prepping for that fourth trimester too.
Exactly. It's all connected. And yoga can really support you through all of it.
So we've talked about poses for each trimester, but what are some general principles of prenatal yoga that can guide a safe and effective practice throughout pregnancy?
Oh, great question. There were some real gems in these sources. The first one is the importance of breath work, or what's called pranayama.
So we're not just talking about, breathing in and out, but really bringing awareness to your breath.
Exactly. Yoga for women of reproductive age talks about techniques like ujjayi pranayama, which can be really helpful for both relaxation and energy.
I love how something so simple can have such a powerful effect on how we feel.
Absolutely. Another concept that came up a lot was womb centering or connecting with your root chakra.
Okay, so now we're getting a little deeper. What exactly is the root chakra?
It's basically like the base of your energy system. It's located at the base of your spine, and it's all about feeling grounded and stable and safe. And moving with the womb actually had a really beautiful meditation for connecting with your womb space and tapping into that grounding energy.
That sounds so powerful, especially during a time when so much is changing. I'm adding that to my list for sure.
Yeah.
So beyond the mat and the meditation cushion, what about other elements of prenatal care that are helpful alongside yoga?
Oh, I love that you're thinking holistically. Remember that source, Yoga for Women of Reproductive Age? It actually goes into a lot of detail about nutrition during
Oh
pregnancy.
yeah, the age-old question, what can I eat? What can't I eat? It's like everyone has an opinion.
I know, it can feel overwhelming. But this source does a great job of explaining why certain nutrients are so important, especially during pregnancy. Like, they talked a lot about omega-3 fatty acids, which are super important for a baby's brain development.
Right. It's so important to understand the why, not just blindly follow a list of rules.
Exactly. And this is where it gets even more interesting, because they introduced this concept called the SEM-HPO axis, which stands for spiritual, emotional, and mental states, influencing the hypothalamus pituitary ovarian axis.
Okay, that sounds a little intimidating, to be honest. Can you break that down for
Yeah,
me?
of course. It sounds more complicated than it is. Basically, it just means that your mind and body are completely interconnected. Your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, they can all impact your hormonal health, which obviously has a big impact on your physical well-being during pregnancy.
So our mental and emotional health is just as important as our physical health when it comes to pregnancy.
Exactly. You can't have one without the other, really. Nurturing your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being is just as important as nourishing your body.
It really makes you realize that when people say listen to your body during pregnancy, they mean listen to your mind and your heart too.
Yes, 100%. It's about tuning into your intuition, honoring your emotions, and finding ways to cultivate inner peace. Taking that holistic approach can make a world of difference.
It's so true. Pregnancy really is about so much more than just the physical changes, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's like you're creating space for this new version of yourself to emerge, too. It's
Yeah.
such a profound time of transformation. And it actually makes me think about one of the most important takeaways from all of these
Oh,
sources.
yeah. What's that?
I think it's this. Prenatal yoga, when we approach it with this feminine yoga perspective, it becomes about way more than just the poses. It's about deepening your connection to your body. It's about trusting your intuition, that inner wisdom you have.
Like remembering you have everything you need to navigate pregnancy and motherhood and all the changes.
Exactly. So as you explore these poses and practices, just remember that this is your journey. Every pregnancy is different.
What feels good for one person might not feel good for another.
Exactly. And if something doesn't feel right, just don't do it. There's no shame in modifying, taking a break, or even talking to a prenatal yoga teacher you trust.
Yeah, you are your own best advocate during this time.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into prenatal yoga through the trimesters, is there one thing you really hope our listeners will take away from this conversation?
I just want every listener to feel empowered to connect with their bodies, to connect with their babies. Pregnancy is such a time of immense change, and having tools like these, like prenatal yoga, breath work, it can make such a difference.
That's beautifully said. It's about more than just preparing for birth. It's about nurturing yourself for the whole journey of motherhood.
And remember, it's called a practice for a reason. Some days will be easier than others, and that's okay. Just be kind to yourself, trust your intuition, and enjoy this special time.
I love that. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us.
Thank you for having me.